Over the next few minutes, we will show you how to set up vendor groups. We use vendor groups to classify vendors that have similar properties and to set default values to streamline data entry when adding vendors. We can view statistics for all vendors that belong to a particular vendor group. It is necessary to create at least one vendor group before adding vendors in Sage 300. Let's see how to add vendor groups. From Accounts Payable, go to AP Vendors and select Vendor Groups. We enter the vendor group code and description. Then select the account set, terms, bank, and payment codes we want to assign to vendors in this group by default. Select Generate separate payments for each invoice if the vendor requires a separate check for each invoice. If this option is selected and you pay multiple invoices at once, the system will generate separate checks for each invoice being paid. Please note that you can override this option when you are creating the payments. Let's move to the Invoicing tab. We can select how the invoice is going to be distributed, either from a distribution set or code, from a GL account, or none. If you select distribution set, then you need to choose a distribution set. The same is true when selecting distribution codes or GL account. Please note that you can change the distribution options when adding a vendor. For our example, we'll select none. In the Duplicate Invoice Checking section, we can modify settings for getting warnings or errors when duplicate information is entered. For example, if we select Warning for Vendor and Amount, the system will give us a warning when you try to record an invoice for a vendor if another invoice for the same amount already exists for that vendor. If we select Warning for any of the two settings, the system gives us a warning and allows us to continue with the transaction. If we select Error, the system gives us an error and it does not allow us to continue posting the transaction. We can select the tax group for this vendor group. And after choosing the tax group, the tax authorities that are part of the tax group are shown. As with any other fields, you can override this tax group for the specific vendor. In the tax reporting field, select 1099, CPRS, or none, depending on the type of tax forms you are required to submit for the vendors in this group. This option appears in vendor records only if the Use 1099/CPRS reporting option is selected in the AP Options screen. After we add the vendor group, the Statistics tab becomes active. In this tab, you can see the statistics for any given year. For each period, you can see information for invoices, payments, discounts, adjustments, and more. Let's save all the changes and close the window. Now please pause this video and open the document with the exercises. This document can be found in your learning package on Sage University. In order to practice adding a vendor group, complete exercise 1 from the vendors lesson. Were you able to add a vendor group? Great! Congratulations! You now know how to set up vendor groups.